What's going on, folks? Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and I wanted to talk to you about what has become one of my absolute favorite spells since the 2024 update to D&D 5e, and that is Prayer of Healing. I can't say with 100% certainty, but from my own personal experience, Prayer of Healing was basically a spell that almost never got utilized back in 2014 because of the fact that it had a 10-minute casting time. And I think we'll get into this a little bit more when we dive into the benefits of the update to 2024. But I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Did you guys ever use Prayer of Healing back in 2014 or any of the, with that version of it? Because of the fact that it did take 10 minutes to cast, meant that you more or less had to just sit around and not be. It doesn't obviously work in a combat scenario because 10 minutes that would be the longest combat ever. But uh and more often than not, and I could be wrong, but again, I'd love to hear your opinion, is if you have 10 minutes, don't you kind of almost already also have an hour? Right. And by that, I mean being able to take a short rest. Because now, obviously, there could be times where you're playing in a game where time is literally of the essence and we only have X amount of time before XYZ catastrophic thing happens. So we have to do this. We have only 10 minutes and nothing else. So in that particular instance, then yes, maybe Prayer of Healing would be the best option for you. But I don't know. Before we dive into everything too specifically here, though, if you like what I do here, please consider subscribing to the channel. It's just a little click for you and means a bunch for me. And I do promise to do more consistent content going into 2025. I'll make a video all about what the future of the channel is going to look like as we get closer to the new year. But I also I just wanted to thanks everybody for for hanging around, and obviously holidays and stuff are always hectic, so content hasn't been as consistent as I'd like it to be. Anyway, that being said, let's go ahead and dive in here. As you can see on the screen, this is the legacy version from here. You can see the flags right here, which means that it's the legacy version from 2014, which shows again a 10-minute casting time, a range of 30 feet. Up to 6 creatures of your choice within range get 2d8 plus your spellcasting ability modifier and hit points. Doesn't work on undead or constructs. This kind of language used to be present on basically all healing spells. That has been removed in 2024. And then again, for each level you cast it above first, it added a d8 to the healing. Now, like I said, the fact that this starts and takes 10 full minutes to cast means that you have to sit around and wait for that 10 minutes, meaning you're not really going to be able to utilize this in combat at all. And because, like I said, more often than not, other than specific situations, you seemingly have 10 minutes, you have an hour. So most people would just opt for the short rest, which is why one of the things I think that I love so much about the adjustment is they basically rolled that in and baked it into the existing class, which now, again, still has a 10-minute casting time, still has a range of 30 feet. They did knock off one character, though. It used to be 6. Now it's only 5 characters of your choice. And it is now they get the benefits of a short rest and also gain 2d8 hit points. Now, again, you do technically lose out a little bit on that healing, as it used to be 2d8 plus your spellcasting ability modifier, and now it's just 2d8. But it also is limited here to once per long rest. So there's no benefit to casting this spell more than once. But kind of baking in that idea of if you have 10 minutes, you have an hour. Now you can take 10 minutes and get the benefits of a short rest and get a little bit of extra healing, kind of almost like the old Bard's Song of Rest that gave you just a little bit of extra healing during a short rest. You get all of that baked into one 10-minute spell. And again, it still retains that upcast for each level above first to heal you an extra 1d8. And this is great because obviously you'll get all that benefits, and in case the timing was, important, you still would have, saved yourself 50 minutes, essentially. There was only one other spell in the game, and that was this spell Catnap from Xanathar's Guide that had a similar functionality. It was an action to cast, but had a 10-minute duration, and that meant that basically once it was active, you'd have to sit around and wait 10 minutes as 3 potentially willing creatures were knocked unconscious for that whole 10-minute time frame. Now, if they stayed asleep and unconscious for that 10 minutes, they got the benefits of a short rest, and they again could only be affected by that once per long rest. For each level above third that you cast this at, you could add an additional creature. First of all, this was a 3rd level spell, and upcasting it lets you pick more people, but the people that are affected by this are just unconscious, as in per the condition unconscious, as in if people hit them, they are automatically critically hitting them. Bad stuff's happening if people are attacked during the process of a catnap. So either somebody has to be awake or you have to be in a place where you completely trust everyone around you and there won't be any issues taking advantage of you being unconscious. Whereas now, Prayer of Healing, first of all, second level spell, right? And you're aware and conscious during the 10 minutes of this casting. It also is not like an action and then 10 minutes to wait. It is 10 minutes and then everybody gets it at the same time. So definitely an improvement. Obviously, though, the limitation being only clerics and paladins have Prayer of Healing, whereas bard, sorcerer, wizards, and artificer could get the old version, or not the old version, but Catnap. But again, Catnap, I think that also might be part of the reason it wasn't used as much, as it didn't really fall on necessarily the traditional healing classes, although again, bards can heal. Now, one thing I do want to point out is this is exceptionally strong with the updates to the 2024 cleric class, specifically with their new version of level 10 divine intervention, which reads, as a magic action, choose any cleric spell of level 5 or lower that doesn't require a reaction to cast. As part of that same magic action activating this, you cast that spell without expending a spell slot or needing material components. You can't use this feature again until you finish a long rest. So I don't know if you caught that, but that now turns that possibly, not super useful 10-minute casting time into a singular action casting time, which means now Prayer of Healing is a combat effective spell. Now, the real trick will come down to is where it says any cleric spell of level 5 or lower. Would your DM let you cast Prayer of Healing at 5th level? Because technically, that would be a spell of 5th level or lower, or would they limit you to only casting it at the 2nd level? That is a question to deal with your DM. But even if it is cast at the lowest level of 2nd level, where it's only 2d8 healing, this does let you, as a magic action, because it doesn't require, it might take 10 minutes to cast, but it does not require a reaction to cast. To, again, as part of that same initial magic action, not only are you casting this spell, you're also casting it without any material components, which there really aren't any, but more importantly, you're not spending a spell slot. And again, it's being activated as an action. So can you imagine the situation where, let's say you happen to have in your party, you're the cleric, and you have a fighter, monk, and warlock in your party who are all spent on all of their resources, spell slots, focus points, superiority dice, action surge, all that's gone. Things are looking rough in the combat. And you decide, you know what? I think it's time. I'm going to burn my 10th level ability of Divine Intervention, which, remember, just happens and is once per long rest, so there's no downside to using it every single day, and just pop a Prayer of Healing in combat. You have now given everybody 2d8 extra hit points, the benefits of a short rest, meaning they can roll hit dice for healing, and you just reset the Warlock spell slots, the Fighter's superiority dice, action surge, whatever else, and all of the monk's focus points in combat. You basically just press the reset button for your party while the enemies are in the exact same situation they were in prior. This fight just swung hugely in your favor in every possible way. This is a crazy amount of implications this has once the party reaches 10th level. And not only that, but other classes do get things back on a short rest. Also, if you happen to be a life domain cleric, you're going to heal additional hit points with Disciple of Life. Again, if this is only cast at the 2nd level, it's an additional 4 hit points, right? 2d8 plus 2 plus the spell's level, so 2d8 plus 4. If your DM allows you to choose for Divine Intervention, the 5th level version of this, you'd be healing everybody by 5d8 on top of the short rest, plus an additional 7 hit points. Again, remember that at 6th level, the life domain cleric's going to also heal themselves a little bit. And if you happen to be casting this at 17th level, you're not even going to bother rolling these 2d8. It's just going to be 16. Again, the light domain cleric at level 6 is going to be able to get all of their warding flares back on a short rest. And the War Domain Cleric is going to be able to get all of their War Priest bonus action strikes back on a short rest. So even, not to mention the fact that you can get some Channel Divinity back, Druid can get some Wild Shape back. There's a bunch of things that can come back on a short rest for other classes as well, but some of them obviously benefit for more than others. But yeah, I mean, Prayer of Healing is wildly more impressive. I noticed this first in my Wednesday night Fandelver and Below campaign, where we realized how powerful Prayer of Healing is because we also have a Warlock in that party. So them being able to reset their spell slots without having to, with only 10 minutes is huge. But also, we are level 8 currently, so once the party hits level 10, I'm very excited to see what kind of shenanigans they're going to get into by being able to have that short rest recharge during combat. So, yeah. I don't know. I love these updates to Prayer of Healing. It's becoming one of my favorite spells, and I love the updates made to it. So I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions on these updates to Prayer of Healing. Have you been using it in your games? Is it as impactful as it seems to be for me? Let me know again in the comments down below. I'll see you all next time.